on this roof. That's what I be doing. No, I just used to y'all said
from London to the Bay. This hammer go hammer, every hammer go hammer. And the rest is on its way, can't touch this.
10, 9, ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
How many people you know can take it this far?
All right. I'm hoping everybody can hear us clear, and I'm hoping that you can see us clear too, like we're not frozen or looking like we're doing a robot or nothing crazy.
oh, we're looking pretty good.
Good
What up,
deal.
though?
Good deal. Happy Wednesday. Certainly today we want to make sure that you can hear us loud and clear. But today we're going to talk about something a little bit different. We always come in with some interesting topics on Wednesdays, but today's topic is a little more closer to home. We're talking about generational trauma, generational curses, things that we inherited and things that we are passing over to our children or the next generation after us, be it a niece, nephew, or the next group that's going to come through and represent the family. We received some from those who raised us, and they got it from those who raised them. Here recently, it has been in the news a lot about the Black community being plagued by generational traumas, that we are still being plagued from the trauma of slavery and the things that happened, like crack in the 80s and all these different traumatic experiences here recently with the police officers and attacking Black men, which has been going on for a long time. But these traumatic experiences are still plaguing us many years after our ancestors are long gone. So the conversation tonight is about what did we inherit and what are we passing over?
So tell me what y'all feel is a trauma, because I don't think to me, I don't think I had much trauma from my childhood. I just feel like, people say getting a whooping is some kind of trauma. Right now, my daddy got whooping, and so his daddy also did to me. No, nigga, every time I got my ass whooped, I deserved it. I mean, that's in my eyes. Now, I'm not saying they was trying to stone me and whip me with the whip, leaving welts and everything, but I just think, every time a little spanking is just, the proper term. Sometimes it's just needed. And so that's considered a trauma.
No,
It's not a trauma, not just getting a spanking. Go ahead, Hurt.
I think just like the memories of just knowing how life was before, like when she said crack, when crack hit, you saw like the neighborhood go down, teachers go down, mentors or whoever you thought you respect go down, and it's just left a lasting effect on our community. It is traumatic to what we see and what we got going on in our culture. It's been praised, but it's traumatic for real, man.
So a trauma is, like she said, a traumatic experience that a culture or a family or someone goes through. So, for example, I believe that the children who
Our future.
No. I believe that the children who watched their fathers get hung when they were burning crosses in the yard, that's a traumatic experience.
Yeah, that's traumatic to see.
Parents who in this generation right now with these young boys and these shootings and these fights and your child getting shot, for a family, that's a traumatic experience. The mothers of daughters who got or sex trafficked, traumatic experience.
Yeah, but that's stuff mostly going on today. What's a generational trauma?
That's a generational trauma. If you have, so I'll give an example. I was talking to this on TikTok earlier. People who are raped, like sexual assaulted, when they were at a time when you weren't punished for it. So like in the 50s and 60s, I mean, it's always been happening, but let's just talk at that time frame when white men could assault Black women and not go to jail for it. Then you might be have a mother who doesn't want to be touched. Don't touch me. Do not touch me. And then you look up, and when she has children, she doesn't hug her children. She's not an affectionate parent because she don't like what it feels like to be touched. And then her kids think that that's normal. You can love me without touching me. And then later you start to realize that that's what happened to one, that's not love. She had a trauma.
But who's to say hugging somebody is love? Just because you don't hug me don't mean you don't love me.
No, just to have that affection from a mother to a child, bro.
Yeah, but I'm still not. I'm not correlating it because just because my mom don't hug me don't mean I ain't gonna hug the next person.
Let me give you an example. Like okay, well, like trauma, like what you said. Let's take it back. Let's say like when you're going back to slavery and your great grandfather saw, like you said, his father being hung, and he now walks across the street to hold his head down. He come past a white man, and he taught his son that. He taught his son that, and until that's broken, it's a stain, you know what I'm saying, on their view of Caucasian people. So it's something that could be passed down because it's something that could be taught. Unlike something that's hereditary, it's very close. It's a cousin, actually adjacent to being hereditary.
It is. It's a big thing. And different traumas will do it. If you had a person where, let's say, my son went out the house in 1922 and he never came back home. So now I raise my kids where I don't allow them to leave the house. And so then my kids have that idea where my mom was a good mama and my mama don't let her leave the house. So now all of y'all are stuck in whatever situation, in the poverty in the hood and the projects or wherever,
Right.
because you're scared to leave. But you're not scared to leave because you're truly scared. You were taught that fear because she lost someone. So whatever that trauma was, it impacted all the generations.
Right.
So you take fear as being trauma.
Fear is definitely a trauma response.
Yes, it's,
No, I don't see fear as a trauma. I see fear as a lesson. See what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. That's when I made my video earlier. I didn't want to downplay or dismiss anything anybody went through because I want to be educated. You know what I'm saying? But I don't see fear as a trauma. Fear and pain are the best lessons you'll ever get in your life. The fear of staying in this place is what's going to get somebody out of it. The fear of going to jail is why you don't go rob a bank. Everybody wants to go rob a damn bank, but the fear of going to jail and having my freedom taken, that's the biggest lesson I'm learning from that. So I don't see that as being a traumatic experience of not rob that bank. No, it's the fear, which for me is a lesson.
So you got a lot of young girls who fear their uncles.
Yeah, now, see,
and that's not a lesson.
But see, they fear their uncle because they had an experience with them.
That's right.
My fear, like, boom, getting in trouble at school. The fear of you calling my parents at work was not traumatic. I just knew what was coming next.
But you're able to make that choice of saying, I don't want to rob this bank because I fear it. Like, so traumatic is something that's it's
no choice.
Yeah, it's almost like an aura. It's like it's something that because when you're walking in that pattern, you start to think that's the way of life, and nobody's showing you different because everybody around you experienced the same thing that has been taught by. So if you have like I said, if you see a Caucasian, you start putting your head down. Yes, sir. Hey, how you doing, sir? People actually spoke like that. Like, you're not gonna find nobody like that now because so many people that buck. And you got the Panthers and you got the Deacons. You got people just the NAACP who are trying to sit here and say, okay, we're better or we're equivalent. So it's some people who pick that up and they taught their kids another way. You see what I'm saying? So they don't fear what they're removed from the trauma because it happened so long ago, but at the same time, they've been taught they're so far from the lesson of being able to put your head down.
So when a trauma has become a generational trauma, it's a situation where the new generations don't even know that it's a problem. It's because the problem didn't happen to you. We have never, and we don't know what it is to be outside in a cotton field picking cotton. But the trauma that those slaves felt and what they went through has been passed through generations for decades. One of the comments that came through, like my sisters, and she's right about this one, a parent not being there, and I'm not talking about just a parent that died. I'm talking about a parent that's just absent is a traumatic experience.
Yes.
And so that's something that I have to be careful that doesn't pass on to my kids because I experienced it. But an alcoholic parent is a traumatic experience as well. And it can make me different about it because that's where I came from. My mom was. And this one, like she said, was stuff swept under a rug. When we grew up, I remember telling my grandma a couple of times, I don't know my dad. Like, who was my dad? Trauma that swept under a rug. Her response was, "There's 50 million kids in this world who don't have a daddy. You ain't no different." And they come out just fine. People get celebrities and they get rich and they come out just fine. Not having a daddy is not, no, that's a problem because something's wrong here. But my family dismissing men.
So daddy issues are traumatic.
Heck yes.
I don't have that. I'm asking this question.
No, he's asking. He said he want to be educated on it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's the same thing, bro. Like it's traumatic when we say generational. Like we're headed down a path where it's cool to wear your pants off your sagging and you not just going to work or sitting around. Nobody's telling you the other side of you don't put nothing in, you don't get nothing out. So due to the fact it's the way of life has been passed on, this would be traumatic. to us in years to come. And it's no different. Jamal Juneteenth Acts was the lady who was trying to ban hip hop with Tupac, saying this is going to head to the road of destruction. Was she right? And now you look back at hindsight, like, oh, she was on what was right, you know. But it's so thick and it's so enrolled into our culture now that it's almost a way
It's
of life.
normal.
Exactly, and that's normalizing trauma is the trauma.
Normalizing trauma is
the trauma.
definitely trauma. And what we've done right now is that this is a very hard conversation for a lot of people to have, because people are like, well, wait a minute, I don't have, but generational trauma doesn't mean the trauma happened to you. It happened to people before you, and it's been passed down to you. Like Tina was saying, when they said they swept stuff under the rug until somebody comes back and bring it up. If you ever get in a room full of your family members and bring up the stuff you ain't supposed to talk about no more, everything is get differences under the rug a lot. They don't talk about what such and such did to somebody. They don't talk about the dad that left. They don't talk about the bad things, but it doesn't mean the people weren't impacted by what happened.
And a lot of suicides and a lot of mental illness come from built up trauma. It's like you just compartmentalize it and put it in the back of your head and you say, I'll get past it, until anything could trigger it, because anything could happen to somebody else. And we just deal with it different. But when you just sit here hoarding just those feelings and learning just to get by with it, it makes you cold, it makes you hard. So we're not opening up. So that's where a lot of the mental health, the suicide, the loneliness, and a lot of the bullying is coming in from. So it's something that's really it's hell in our community, man. Because at the same time, like, it's like the kid who's smart or talk proper. People don't understand proper. That is not talking white. It's just you know, pronounce your words right and talk a proper English.
This is cool because traumatic.
English is never cool.
But in our culture, it's starting to be a cool thing, because if you're articulate, it's considered to be white. It's like black people can't be articulate.
Right.
That's trauma.
That's trauma.
That's trauma. That's generational trauma. That ignorance is okay. It's a lot of things.
You're a new breed, bro. Like,
I'm just saying, even in school, bro, like my people around me used to brag like, nah, my nigga, he's a nerd. Well, we love that shit. Like,
right.
So it wasn't traumatic for me. I don't know what it is to be cool, to be stupid. My niggas we didn't accept that from each other.
No.
But when he's saying it's not your friends picking on you and saying that it's traumatic, what he's saying is that
it's the culture.
Our culture, black people were known to be ignorant. We weren't allowed to be educated.
No, we weren't known. We were tagged.
We were tagged as ignorant. So anything that we did that looked like you were of the nerd, the upper echelon, if you sounded like you were articulate, then you were considered white, because we could not process that black was right. And it's not saying that we as individuals did, but our culture as a whole did.
Yeah.
A great example of what generational trauma does is being in the hood and all this hood living, and somehow it became made cool. Now you got sexy red and them out there making the stuff they're making.
Right.
That's the
birth of trauma.
They are the.
And she's gonna set the bar higher to bring more.
It's sad. I was sitting there talking about the video that went out from DSS, and I said that little girl who's in that place since from May to September, living in those conditions, that's a traumatic experience for her.
Hold up, what I saw a post. You said DSS, and you called DSS.
Oh man, DSS is
what happened?
They need their asses.
So,
I'm trying not to customers, but they need their asses whooped.
What happens is that DSS is supposed to be a holding spot sometime for children who can't be placed.
Right.
But they're so understaffed, and there's so many children not being placed that what should be a temporary place, like you here for overnight,
right?
Children are living there. You're there from May to September. So now what you're seeing is that place isn't built for them to have a hotel there. They're not built to stay overnight. No. It doesn't have a kitchen in there for them to get food cooked. So they're living out of vending machines. The living experience is traumatic. It's sad.
Right.
But I go back to generational traumas. Remember, we just talked about crack in the 80s.
Right.
Crack in the 80s kick. You talking about the parents of the 90s. These babies that are getting dropped off.
That's how it spirals off, bro.
These are generational people. So generational trauma has caused these parents to not even have accountability. And now they got more kids and they got people to serve and take care of them.
Right.
You got generations of families living in the projects. My grandma lived here. When I turned 18 and I had my 2 kids, I moved here. and then my mama live over there, and you got whole families in that same little block of the projects.
Is that trauma or is that people being too comfortable?
Poverty is trauma.
Poverty.
No. Because there's plenty of people who live in projects and they fight hard to get out of it because they don't want that. They're not comfortable there.
Right.
Like what I'm saying, every rapper we know, come from the projects and they work damn hard to get there and take their mama from there and all that stuff. So that them breaking a generational curse, or the people who stay there, are y'all just comfortable?
Like my sister said, everybody in the hood ain't lazy and
that's
ghetto.
true, but at the same time,
Sometimes
bro,
you're stuck.
I'm not saying lazy, I'm saying comfortable.
No, to go back to what you were saying, you're saying every rapper that we know came from the hood. That's allegedly. It's some of them nerds in there that has been traumatized to say this is what I have to do to fit in. That's what we're trying to say. That's how we differentiate the two.
That's a good one.
Okay, so let's not say every rapper.
No, I'm just saying. What I'm saying is they got you thinking that you have to be that in order to be a rapper. Like when you look back in the 80s, Kid and Play was cool with being Kid and Play.
They was cool being Kid and Play.
But they can't do that now because that's the corny stuff. So you being traumatized for being yourself and being creative and having a good time. You see what I'm saying? So like,
I know kids who would lie and pretend to be broke. Nunu from the movie, how she pretended to be ghetto, but she was rich. Because generational trauma, Lauren London, because generational trauma has made it seem as if you're not black and you're not cool if you're not struggling like us. We embraced the struggle way too hard.
But see, that's the thing. Using your perfect example, she wanted to be, T.I.'s homeboy didn't want to be, and T.I. loved the fact like, my boy book smart. He getting the fuck up out of here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So Nunu was comfortable wanting to act like she didn't have it. My man T.I. and his boys are like, we gonna work hard and we getting up out of here.
Right.
So I'm saying they weren't comfortable. So it was traumatic for them, or they just like,
we're not
situation I'm in.
The video because of his environment, but he saved his money up washing windows and cleaning the house because he wanted to get out of there. Trauma could turn you away another.
Right.
Sure.
And still excel. But at the same time, what we're saying is out of every 10 houses in the project, it's probably 4 or 5 that's really going to make it out. 6 of them tried. But somebody's going to come to one of those people that's been on a corner, that's shade tree mechanic, a guy that's always at the store, and they can get comfortable one day and they're sucked in. So that goes into that because they think it's the norm because he's cool. He's been doing this, not knowing this guy has no social security, no life insurance. There's nothing to pass on except for bad habits.
So what if it's the other way around? Like with the example she gave, Nunu's rich. She wants to be from the ghetto. Her dad came from the ghetto and became rich. Is it traumatic that she wants to act like she's from the ghetto?
Because that's what she found. That's what she thinks is cool.
Okay, but I'm asking you, is it traumatic? Now, what you find cool and what's traumatic is 2 different things.
Cool, that's true.
Her trauma, but see,
so what's her trauma? Yeah, that's my question.
So the thing for her is that's not her trauma. What we're saying is that her father's trauma of living in the hood
got him up out of it.
But it did. But his attitude, so you getting out of it, it was a fight. That fight to come from those nights of being scared where he was, raised his daughter in a situation where she was sheltered from it because he never wanted her to experience that because she was sheltered from it and he hid it from her. The minute she got a clue into it, she was infatuated with it.
But because I want better for my child, she's going through a trauma.
But it's not wanting better. It's not the same thing.
No.
When you want better, so if I want my kids to have better, I give them a better world. But I let them also know that the world as a whole exists. When you're sheltering your children, you're hiding the world from them.
That's not sheltering. If I work to get up out of there and I make sure my kid don't ever have to experience it, that's not sheltering them. That's just showing them what you can be. You don't have to experience this. This is what I did. This is what you can keep doing. We can keep our family over here instead of having to be back here. So how was that traumatic?
I don't think that is.
Her trauma. That's not her trauma. It's his response to his, and it impacted her.
His response to his was giving my family and children a better life.
Because she became infatuated with the one thing he wanted to run from.
Like I said,
how was that traumatic?
Living in the projects was traumatic for her daddy. She didn't have it.
I'm not talking about her daddy. I'm talking about her.
So that's what we're saying.
I don't think she had trauma in there.
She didn't have it. Generational trauma means you didn't have to experience it. We've never picked cotton, but there are impacts from what they did that's come through the families for years.
It's more so of a stigma that's attached. It's a negative stigma. It's like a stench, and you get
stigma. Trauma. That word trauma just throws me off.
I mean, it's because it's so vague with the line.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm
because it's the cousin of so many different illnesses. Even if it's the ill mental, So that's what I'm saying. It's a stigma attached that you start buying into. And those who are around you who have been taught that start, like I said, the guy from the store, he's not teaching you nothing else, but you think it's cool because he's convenient. You know, that's why you say get these kids out the hood. They got to see something besides what they're in because they got to get rid of this trauma. So my whole thing is you will have something that can get out. But I think trauma is more so like a stigma. It's something that has been said. It's like when we were going to school, it's like, oh, you manna kids, you manna kids, you manna kids. And when you hear about the manna, it was like, oh, we were bad. But at the same time, like that was home to us until we got out of here. Like if we'd have believed that, we'd have been manna kids.
And that's what they're saying in the comments right now. Who's to say because you got out of the projects and got money, you gave a better life? Who's to say what your life is better? Because some people who have money got the hell. You can have a life like what's that man murder, where you could be in the project and be loved and cared for by an amazing family.
No,
it's okay to come back up.
No, I'm just giving an example for the most part, like your man said. You know why they call the projects? Because it's a project, and we're in it experiment. Like it's you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's a lot of Jay-Z's that just quit too early, bro. Because the
start to see stuff. So one of the examples is doing it again, but generational traumas was that the war. So Vietnam, when it hit, they took a lot of, pulled them out, and the Vietnam War gave a lot of these men the ideas of being soldiers and benefits and better lives for their families. But when they went over SD,
that was also just that wasn't just black soldiers.
Also, we saying, but like when you say you got somebody that sleep at night and they've been in you shoot this man like well I've been shot before you on. He came talking loud and I was traumatized. Like
we're looking at generational curses. Poverty is a generational curse.
Right.
If all of you feel that this is the best you can do, that's a generational curse. It's not comfort.
That's a problem.
It's not lazy. It's a curse. So the trauma part, if you're sitting in a war and you've been out there, and like you said, you don't like loud noises, you don't like when we're on the other way around.
But they got hooked on the opioids and the heroin, bro, to get rid of the trauma.
They wanted watching people's body parts get blown up. You're seeing a lot of different situations. So they got high. And when they came back, they were addicted to those drugs.
Like Major Pain.
That's not my nigga Smokey said. My Smokey said the heroin and everything.
Never did nothing.
Upside down.
That's what I'm saying. Like yo, I've been traumatized, so now I'm wired like this.
Yeah.
I got to move like this. And if you're not trying to like step in and like break that, it's gonna continue on.
Hold on, let this thing do it. There it is. So generational trauma can be from all that, and every time the kids make a noise, he's screaming at them. He's not yelling at them because he's disciplining them. He can't handle the noise.
Yeah.
And when he beats them, he spazzes out.
No, it's the same as a female watching her mother getting jumped. I love it. She was her mother never set her down. I said, baby, this is love. Or her mother never packed up and said, I'm going on because you put your hand on me. So it'll be accepted and passed on.
Hands on you.
I think it was something in the heart, though.
It was something in the heart.
Something in her heart.
There's a lot of generational traumas that impact us as a people. But and telling me to be quiet and sit down and don't do certain things because that's gonna make a man mad. And then I tell my daughter that, and we raise a group of women who just avoid angering men. That's generational trauma.
If you let it happen.
Sometimes you can't control it because you don't know
No,
better.
you can control it. If you saw your mama getting beat and then you let a man beat you, you let that happen. If a man starts beating you and you leave, you're not no longer letting it happen because you want to show your daughter this isn't right.
You might not know that mental.
It goes by the household, bro. Like what I'm saying is, if you never have to fight, bro,
That is true.
and that's what I'm saying. Like somebody who's hungry, they're gonna realize the opportunity to do whatever because there's something inside of them. But they saw something of
Easy.
It's not
There. Yep, I want better and I'm gonna leave. You don't, because you never taught that same worth. Like how you today you posted an
Tina
amazing.
did it for years.
Tina Turner.
And I mean, but look what it did to her boys. Her boys were addicted to all kind of stuff. Growing up with her and Ike was not good. Tina left. It's not
They weren't-
easy to leave. It's never easy to leave for a lot of people. Being an abuse, it's like Stockholm syndrome. People who are kidnapped and fall in love with their captors.
I mean, I guess. I don't know. Once again, I'm trying to be educated.
So a lot of women just cannot wake up tomorrow and say, you know what? I'm tired and I'm walking out. That takes a lot of strength. It takes a lot of support. It takes a whole lot.
What kind of strength is needed? If somebody's beating you, you know, man, beating you is wrong. Why is it just no? I'm not staying for this. Why do you have to get the strength to leave before he does it again?
Well, you become dependent upon that man or that female.
You do. The dependency is big.
No, what I'm saying, like a lot of people want to do a lot of things, but what stopped them from doing it? There's a lot of things that step in the way. But what I'm saying is, like, that's the only thing you know. Like I said, you don't know how to fight. You're not gonna know when to fight.
Same thing when you don't want to leave certain situations. People won't leave employers. People don't leave relationships. People don't leave a lot of bad situations. You got people who won't leave friendships that they know aren't good for them.
It's like what you said, bro. They got comfortable.
And relationship-wise, you can be.
Is trauma. Y'all keep coming back to people getting comfortable.
Yes, complacency.
So
it's somewhat
y'all
complacent.
equating trauma to equal comfort.
I'll give you the best example that cannot be negotiated.
I'm gonna say somewhat along the lines.
When the Israelites were freed from Egypt, they were like, God, get us out. God, get us out. They prayed. They got it. They said, let's go. When they got into the wilderness and they were going through to get to the promised land, and they were like, we're tired and we're hungry. You know what? Pharaoh might have been a little trifling, but I was able to sleep in my bed and I had something to eat. Take us back. That you started to realize that slavery wasn't that bad because this journey you're on is harder. They were traumatized.
They were comfortable with having something to eat, somewhere to sleep every night. They were uncomfortable with having to work for it.
I'm gonna say conditioned.
Conditioned is a better word.
Conditioned, stigma, like, because it's not that you don't know better. It's just that that's the way. And you look around, everybody around there everybody around you is doing the same thing. That's the condition. So the condition becomes a stigma. The stigma becomes a way of life. And when you see something different, then you know that ain't living. Like I said, you know,
because they don't know better.
If you was in the house, like I said, the female seeing her mother getting punched around, and then she goes to her girlfriend's house to stay the weekend and see how her father acts towards her mother, she may come back and be a bit more rebellious because she saw it. She saw it. So there goes that T.I. or that father from ATL that want to get out because this ain't right. So I got to get this. This is my opportunity. I'm gonna seize it because
you're right.
You know that it got to be something. It has to be shown so you can be known to, you know.
Because many people do not know better.
Right. That's just the way, bro.
And you get stuck in that situation. You can marry someone who's filthy rich and gives you the world, and they take you out of whatever the hell you've been in because it was a traumatic experience growing up in poverty.
Right.
Now you're in a relationship, this person making sure everything you get, but the price to pay is they're hurting you. And there are many people who go, I'd rather this hell than that one. And they make a decision. It's so many different pieces that come into it. It's a lot. And it's stuff that comes through later on, and it just continues to trample over through your family as you keep on going.
Right.
Like those girls who, the young girls who were dating the Murdaugh brothers. It was known they were in a rich area. Those girls were getting beat by them boys in high school. But you got a Murdaugh. So, that's what comes with having a rich man. That's what comes with a rich man. Until one of y'all gets knocked over that boat and that girl's dead. And now everybody's got a whole big issue going on. And now it's uncovering what's happening. But they've been doing it for generations. Those men been beating on women.
I just think differently.
I mean, no,
You live differently.
no, yeah, that may be it.
Yeah,
Because there are certain situations, there's
No,
traumas
'cause-
that I didn't live, but I'm not. I know it. I'm knowledgeable in their experience. I'm saying I'm not ignorant to what's happening to them.
I'm not.
I know that it's. I'm not saying that you are, but I've watched women who are great, wonderful, amazing, smart, brilliant women that are so traumatized from a bad situation they don't move. It's not comfort. Some of it's fear. A lot of it's fear, but it's not a comfortable. They want out. They don't know how, and they don't know if they can do it.
So me not wanting to get addicted to crack because I've seen what it do with the trauma.
No, you recognize the trauma and you moved away from that.
But if your uncle, your grandmama, your granddaddy, your cousin, your great granddaddy, and all of them were crackheads, but crack was so accessible that y'all stayed in the area to get it, and they put you on crack, and then you get married
You might
and you
think
put
that's
your
the
son
norm.
on crack,
Yeah, you might.
and
that's
so
the
you
norm.
think crack is normal because crackheads aren't a problem with you because that's your everyday life. You got functioning crackheads in your family.
the
But
old
y'all just-
saying,
but
bro,
y'all
they knew
just
better, they
said-
do better, bro.
But y'all, you right. You know, if you know better, you do better. But y'all just said if you see it, you know how to adjust it. So if I see my grandma, my granddaddy, and all them doing crack, and I see what it's doing to them, why would I still want to do that?
Because you be
Because you
surprised.
don't know any different.
I'm asking.
No, that's what I'm saying. You
So-
be
so
surprised. 'Cause-
traumatic. I see how it's fucking up their life. I mean, it's messing up their life, but I'm still gonna do it
yeah,
because
So she said, I was conditioned
Yeah,
to
bro.
believing that love was domestic violence because I was surrounded by it every day as a child, as a teen. I didn't know anything until I met someone that actually showed me differently. My mom stayed because she saw it her entire life. There are generations of women that have said sometimes a man might slap you around, and to you, you're like, that's not normal. But Jose ain't in everybody's house. You had a good father. Some people are conditioned to be around sorry men.
it grows, and it grows to get.
and it only
Yeah.
comes from your household.
It comes from your
comes- it
household,
comes
come
from
from
your
your
surroundings.
come from your surroundings, come
Okay,
from a lot
so
of
if
stuff.
everybody I know smokes weed and I don't smoke weed, what's that say?
No, you just chose different.
So it's not traumatic then. It's a choice you can make.
No, just because everybody around you smoke
I'm
weed
asking,
don't make it
again,
trauma.
asking, I'm
That's not trauma.
But y'all say it's what you see.
But some people do get wrapped into what they see. Just
Yeah,
because you're
I'm asking.
you can be
I'm
a
asking.
you can be a generation. So you can be a person that, like you said, the rapper, the one rapper that got out the hood.
Thank you, D. I asked that same question just now.
Can smoking weed be generations? If that's what if your family makes that normal?
No, they came with the peace pipe. Like this is no, I'm not being funny because like the Indians had the peace pipe. What I'm saying is, smoking weed is not traumatic, and smoking crack
It's
is not
medicinal.
traumatic. It's that's the condition of your
Is it a
surroundings.
result of the trauma?
Yeah, some people did it to escape. Some people did it because they thought it was cool. Some people did it because they thought it'd be just like weed but a little better, and they got addicted. You understand what I'm saying? It's hard to beat an addiction. It's hard to beat a condition. That's what I'm saying. If you never move for a situation,
For
So
drugs.
most addicts come from a traumatic experience.
They can.
I'm asking.
Yes, a lot of addicts can.
I can't say that.
I
don't stick with addicts.
I will say this. I've been around addicts a lot.
I've been around a lot of addicts too.
And a
but
lot of them start to cope.
yes,
Something
that's
that
true.
happened.
Or to
so-
socialize.
And they're usually coping for a trauma. So I'm in my family, there are a lot of alcoholics. Most of them alcoholics got into alcohol to cope with, I feel better when I'm drunk because I don't want to think about the rape. I don't want to think about the abuse. I don't want to think about these,
Now that I can
these
see,
problems.
but like bro just said, what if you doing it to socialize?
If you're doing it just to socialize, like you're a social drinker,
Then it's not an addiction and it's not a trauma.
no. But if you have to have that drink to get up in the day because you can't function throughout the day unless you're drunk,
That's
because
an addiction.
your mind start, but usually it says if I wake up in the morning, I get lost in my own thoughts. I start thinking about this. That means that stuff that's in your head that you're going through traumatized you.
I tell you what, we spend enough time defining trauma.
How about
Let's label some things that we feel as if though are causing trauma
that was my
on our
next
culture
question.
and our community.
To both of y'all, what's and
I think social media. You know, I just really think social media.
You think social media is everything. If we talk about
Yes,
eating candy, you be like social media.
yes, because it give access
It
to.
gives access to more things than people seeing unrealistic life.
And when it first started, it's like, well, you click on what you like, but it's so much stuff coming past your stuff you don't like is just there now. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
So what did we inherit? Is what you're asking from all the
What's the
different things.
generational curse or trauma that you're trying to break from your family?
Woo, child. Being affectionate, being present.
Being not affectionate, you mean,
No. Being affectionate.
is what you're trying to do now.
We're breaking it. So
So
we're
what you're trying to
not
break
an
is not.
affectionate family.
So what you're trying to break is not
one of
being
the breaking
affectionate.
is we are going to be affectionate.
Okay, so you're trying to break not being affectionate.
Right. Alcoholism is a generational trauma. I agree, Tish. We are breaking quite a few. So addiction runs deep in my family. My set of my cousin, my sister, and I, all of us, we don't have some of the addictions that the relatives and cousins and aunts and uncles and things that we've been around had. When it comes to being a parent, being a present parent, that was a big one for us. Being present is a huge one for us. And then letting our children know that we love them.
Love 'em,
Everything
got
that
it,
we
yeah.
did not have,
Yeah,
we have fought. My number one goal when I became a mother was to not be my mama. And that was a trauma for me because I didn't realize that even though my mama wasn't around and I had my grandma and my aunts, that my mama not being there was traumatic for me. The abandonment, the rejection,
right.
the feeling like those men that you wanted more were better for you. You wanted a bottle and a man more than you wanted your children. So when I had kids, I wasn't so much experiencing the love and joy of being a mama. I was giving you everything to make sure I wasn't Jackie.
Right.
Okay.
And that's a different ball game.
Yeah. Man, I mean, like that step above your parents and your family members is always a push.
It's
You
a
know,
big push. I didn't allow alcohol in my house for, let me see. I moved out when I was 20. I was probably 32 years old before I allowed alcohol in my house because of how bad my mama was drinking.
understood.
The smell
That's
of a
traumatized, bro.
liquor store would make me gag until I was in my 30s.
You tossing back now.
Because I had to deal with the fact that I'm not my mama.
Did you call an alcoholic on the
He
air,
did.
bro?
You toss them back now, okay?
You toss them back now.
But even right now, there are moments
You
where we
just
could
took a
all be
drink
in
when you got on air.
we could be in a big, I ain't take one today, but we could be in a big old circle of people and they'd be like, Chris, you gonna drink? And I'd be like, nah, I don't want it. And you can hear people going, you gonna do it? No, I don't want it. Because those moments when I see a group of grown people starting to drink in that moment, and I've never shared this, in that moment, I see my mom again.
Mm.
In that moment, when I'm if I'm out, when I was little, the smell of a liquor store was triggering me because she was in them all the time.
So
The smell of liquor store, like or because I have family members that drink too. When they go to sleep after they've had their drink and they close that door, you open that door,
You can smell it.
yo, you talking about intoxicated right on the spot. And you learn to accept that smell because that's something that's going on that's pretty prevalent in your house. But you realize like, nah, your house ain't got to smell like that. This is before Febreze.
As another response, for kids who have so kids who have addicted parents, if your parents are addicted to drugs or alcohol, you notice that when a person is drunk or when they're sober, they act like two different people.
Right.
So as a kid, you start to look at them and you learn to read their faces. You look at them and you be like, okay, is this a good day or bad day? Are you gonna be on a good person or bad? You start to, their voices change, their attitudes change.
When you're, I don't know, because I see some people drink, they become mean drunks. Some people become crying drunks.
I'm gonna tell you how I know that you've seen some stuff growing up.
Wow.
You've done the one thing that a lot of kids has been around to do. You can mimic people very well.
Oh yes, that's
because you've learned to read them.
Those are my characters. Like every.
Is that traumatic?
That's not traumatic.
Okay.
That's me understanding what my situation is. Like when you said the generation.
So that's you just reading the room.
That's me reading the room, but I've seen those characters. I've seen those characters in my life, and I pretty much somewhat. And I'm not saying everybody, but you could pretty much say, okay, this is such and such, or this is such. I don't care if it's just 9 characters in your head. You can see it pretty much say this person's gonna fall into this, and these are the habits or the acts of this person. But back when y'all saying like the generational curse, I could honestly say, or maybe I'm being naive to say I can't recognize. I don't really have like family trauma, you know, and even if it was the norm, I somewhat along the line said, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna go this route. My generational trauma is more so for my culture as a overall, walking and being and standing as a black man, being what I feel is the epitome of a man. Like
You know what?
I gotta break that buck. So when I'm with some friends and we're in front of some white guys and they say the N-word, I gotta stop them right there. And I tell them right there, don't call me the N-word in front of that boy right there or that guy right there. Because my whole thing is I don't want you to get comfortable with it because my culture has made that comfortable for you to accept it, but we fought so hard to get away from it. And it's a stigma attached to that. You see what I'm saying? So like I don't have any family trauma. Like I experienced love. My mother wasn't at my game, but I understood my mother was working. My father would give me anything I want. He just, you know, we weren't in the same house. They stayed married. They just separated, but they loved each other. So we knew what love is. I had brothers and sisters. I had no friends at first, and I had too many friends, and I got friends I don't even want. So like, you know, like when you come up and you realize, like, because I spend a lot of time alone. I love being alone. I love being alone.
Most introverted extrovert I've ever
Yo,
seen in my life.
bro, I used to play baseball. I used to throw a rock in the air and swing it back or hit the ball and then go get it and do it again. And I was cool with that. But I separated myself when I was hitting the most home runs in the park. It was nothing to me, and I wasn't traumatized by being alone. I channeled my energy to be okay. I knew I didn't want to be. I didn't drink a beer until I was 24 because I saw what he did to Leroy at a corner store. You know what I'm saying? But when I got grown, I thought I was grown. Yeah, I'm gonna do this, and then I had my tolerance level. But my trauma, my beef with trauma is for my generation, for my culture,
and it can be something.
I can agree
our
with that.
generation has one, and it's simple, but a lot of people don't. And I told you about this one recently. Nobody ever went on field trips with me when I was younger. So as a parent, I broke my neck.
Me neither.
Every field trip with my kids.
Me neither. But I remember taking Chase to the museum, and they was like, "We want to go with Mr. Riggs." That was the coolest feeling in the world.
But
you feel what I'm saying?
Even though you didn't feel like so that's when you said, "Do all traumas like they're all bad?" Even though that's not like a murder trauma or something big, it's something that stuck with you to the point that you became what you missed.
Yes.
But there are also the other end who say, "I ain't going. She ain't never with me, and I was fine."
And that's why I said, brothers are 50-50. It depends on the individual. Some people say, I'm not going to do this. And they're fussing at the kids because at the same time, that's the anger they have for that trauma or their parent that they didn't get off their chest then. You know what I'm saying? Like, so when, you know, I don't know, it's just crazy.
There's one that I will say my family had that I learned from you, and I appreciate diet and how we're eating. Because we go around.
He did 50 before we got on there.
He does 500. It's
not
ridiculous.
Today. I recently had
so people be like,
I've been able to push up for a while.
Diabetes, heart failure, blood pressure, all these different things. Some of them are hereditary.
No.
But some of them are how we eat.
That's what's hereditary. That's what's hereditary.
How we eat
is
hereditary.
That's hereditary and trauma are not the same thing.
So if everybody got diabetes and everybody's dying of heart attacks and everybody's got high cholesterol and it's a normal thing for y'all,
no, we were saying they were Jason.
That's where that stuff is. That's generational. That's curses. That's stuff we pass off.
Stuff you
bad
on.
Eating habits. So it's like we sitting around the house right now. You take your blood pressure meds. I take mine. You take yours. We all slow footing around the house. And then I go, we should get up and walk. Child, my mama ain't walk. We ain't about to get up and no walk. We're going to die when God tell us to go. Or we could change our habits.
But on the flip side, the trauma isn't there. That's the condition. That's the condition we're in.
Because the trauma came from when you were a slave.
Let me tell you what the trauma comes in. The trauma comes in when you come in and you say, I'm not going to eat that. I'm going to go walking. See, now we got to split. We got to split because
he going against the
now you think you're better. That's that nerd again. You see, why you talking like that? Why you doing that? See, that's the condition. We were conditioned to think that this is how it's supposed to be. And you're telling me, hey man, if you keep eating that fried chicken, they're gonna cut that foot off.
But I thought the trauma would be
you see what I'm saying?
I feel what you're saying.
So in that one, where I would have assessed that the trauma was where the reason why your family eats these bad foods, why they don't eat the more cultured foods and the things or get up and go walk and do things is because when they started eating like this, it's because they had no choice.
Right.
You're only getting the bad foods. Nobody's letting you get the good stuff. So
that's the condition,
bad.
Sis. So what I'm saying is as long as that's the condition, I'm not worried about it because this is good. In walks in. In walks E.
You finally know that in is not in. You just
in walks in the room. No, but here comes bro coming in. He's a cousin from Greenville.
All right.
No, let's say he's a cousin from California. He just, you know, he's over there with his lettuce. He's eating like he's eating wraps. No, seriously, we don't know. We're talking about, yo,
But now you're making them feel bad.
sweet
Something's
soul
weird.
food. Yeah.
It's different.
Man, why you eating that? This, that,
And I'm gonna tell you where that
we
gets
steady
at.
trying to push a liver.
Then later on,
pig
you
in
get
your
around a
house.
bunch of people, and
You
now
know?
you feel like I think something's wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. You just were smarter than the rest of us, but there was more of us than it was
That's
smart ones like
back to
you.
that nerd. But that's what I'm saying, bro. That's the best way to define that. The condition was we gonna eat chicken every day. We gonna eat fried chicken every day,
In Crisco.
and that was cool until you came around with the better idea, and it's like, okay, well, cool. Then you're gonna be able to recognize the trauma. Now that individual has to make that choice
Because you're gonna watch them people argue you down why it's okay
because
for them to make a
that's
bad
their way.
decision.
They've been conditioned to eat like that.
So, all right, conditioning and trauma kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah,
It
so
does.
they're cousins. They like friends.
Best friends.
They like friends.
What a fucking family picture.
Yeah.
But that's really how life is. We've been conditioned so many ways that we can't stand outside of our box. And that's where these generational curses. So now you got a lot of generations, and that's kind of where social media is helping and not hurting. Because sometimes you can look online and you can be like, I might have an abandonment issue that makes me do that. Or there might be something a little bit different. Or now you're getting different recipes online than what you've been passed down with from your family the whole time. So now you don't use regular salt, you sea salt. Now you don't eat that because now the picture.
That's true.
Now the picture showed you that the worms get in your stomach. Now you don't want pork no more, but your family been eating ham and bacon all your life.
That's in walking in again. Though. But that's what I'm saying. Like
Eat a whole social media walking in.
yes.
God dang.
That's no, because I'm saying that because we had to give him the metaphor of when he said, "Well, I was around, the nerd situation." I'm like, okay, there goes the nerd again. There, that's somebody who just sees something different,
Something different and calling it out.
And yeah, and if you're not used to it, like you're gonna be the weirdo. You're gonna be the weirdo, and that's gonna either make you or break you. That's gonna either make you get them up, or that's gonna either let you get down.
Now you on the conditioning part. I got to give you this one. It's a state law in South Carolina. You can beat your wife on a Sunday on the state house.
On the state house steps.
So at one time, beating your wife was accepted, and not everybody grew out of it.
Then everybody saw what's love got to do with it. Then you start seeing guys getting beat up. Then the word simp came along. Like everything got like in the 20s, the guys were cool with smacking the wife around. That's what they call the teams. I hate saying that. That's why they call them wife beaters. Because all the men were coming in with the same shirts. Like, what are you in for? I beat my wife. So you got these women coming up in the 30s and the 40s saying, well, if he don't hit you, he don't love you. Okay. And then you get the birth of the pimps. You see what I'm saying? The pimps knock you around. And then you got somebody that's coming in here and they allow women to go get jobs now. It's not many women getting slapped because they saw another way. And then you got this, I'm a 90s girl, and they start making money. And then you see what I'm saying?
But it's another side of that too, because
it carries on.
The same mothers who were saying if don't make a man mad, he'll beat you. Behind the scenes, those women were also telling their daughters, don't you ever let her. She's telling her daughter, don't you ever let a man do this. Don't you ever let a man do that. Then the next generation is out here saying they F nigga free and all this. Yeah. And they're like, well, why is this going on? Because
when it's time for back to school.
But then the generation comes around and it's gonna be studs walking the girls and the guys to school on the first day. I'm serious, it's gonna be more guys that's trans walking because it's they're raising the bar. Raising the bar for all this to be cool.
Normal, for it to be normal.
And so let's go back to what
so they're gonna create the
conditioning
to make you feel like, and they got social media, somebody who you think they say, well, that's right because that's what I like. Because you like something don't make it necessarily right. A lot of people like crack, like you said, but you can't smoke in the middle of the store.
I mean, I feel you.
So, like, I mean, I don't know. I think
it's slow.
It's a lot of conditioning that has been placed and ran so deep. We've never shaken all of it off. And bit by bit, in our families and our ways and our attitudes and our demeanors, we look at our sons at 3 years old and tell him, you're not a normal man, you're a black man. And I need you to know that being a black man is different.
I'm conditioning mine.
I'm conditioning
mine. Every morning, I'm conditioning mine. Like, yo, what's your last name? Don't disrespect nobody. More important, don't let nobody disrespect.
The trauma's already happened.
The trauma's already around him, bro. That's what I'm saying. He got to go 8 hours with some other kid that I don't know what they got going on.
Black men have already.
So I got to remind him every morning before he walked through that classroom, like, yo, you're special. You're a Rick's. I love you. Don't disrespect nobody, but don't let nobody disrespect you. He knows exactly what to do.
Great example.
That's the best
No,
one
that's
right
great
there. You're gonna remind him he's a black man. They're gonna treat you like this because you're a black man. But the reason you're through stuff as a black man,
That I haven't. My father made sure I didn't.
and
Like,
I've
honestly,
seen
I just know because being a black man, and from what I say, like on social media, I see what it means to be a black man in this goddamn country.
Right.
I haven't been through it personally. Thank God. I don't want to have to go through it. And that's what I'm conditioning my kids, not just my son, because it's hard for black women too. So not just my son. My son a little bit more because black men get a little bit harder, but it's not easy for me.
We can see it.
what did you have happen to you that was harder for you because
He's
you were
been
a black man?
traumatized. He don't even know it. You look at TV every day. You get on
That's
YouTube. That's what's
exactly
said.
where I was
And
about
that's
to
what's
get
said.
at.
And that's the trauma.
That's the trauma.
Well,
And that's kind of what we're going with that. That's why I was asking those questions, because there's certain things that you've seen happen to black men. All of us ain't never been at no place where a cop has put his foot on your neck for 9 minutes and the world watched you die. But that trauma made us sit down with our sons and say, let me talk to you about these police officers.
Right. But what it was something I wanted to,
because it's traumatic.
For my daughter.
Your daughter. I mean, because she's
in school.
Yeah, Ev's what, 2, 3?
He's only 2.
But he's understanding too, right? Okay.
Yeah.
But you're telling Lena that, right?
Yeah.
I'm telling my kid that, right?
Yep.
Okay, without us even speaking about that, that's So
I like that word.
I'm glad you said conditioning, because what she just said is one that we as women watch all the time. You get men that go through. Charlemagne has a video about that. Men are high five for how many women they sleep with. Find out you slept with 5 women. It's a high five situation.
That's not trauma. That's double standard.
No, but she ain't saying it's double standard. She's saying you are high fiving them about abusing and hurting women or doing different things that are sexually explicit to women. You're not protecting them, so you're high fiving a man for using women.
How is he using women?
That's
just
not,
because a man sleeps with
that
women,
has nothing to do with
using them.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with it.
Now hold on. Now, he rapes 5 women. You're an
No,
asshole.
she didn't say rape.
Hold on. That's what I'm getting at. There, you don't get the high five. But if he sleeps with 5 women who are willing to sleep with him, how is he using them?
So you run around here just laying up with a whole.
If the woman is willing.
So this is where this is coming. It's almost like a little boy goes, oh, so to get a high five from Unc, I got to get about 5 of these women. I was gone wife 1, but now I'm gonna go ahead and get before 5 because Unc said that's the cool thing to do. You're conditioning boys that it's cool to sleep with multiple people. Why would you want to settle down with one girl? Get you multiple girlfriends. Get you a bunch of girlfriends.
Because King Joffrey told me to saw Moral Oaks.
See?
No, Joe.
Cool to get high five from your dad. I told my daddy I could have did all this, but what I wanted was her. So it's not necessarily a high five because he's certified. Some men,
when they say no, I want something different.
No, that ain't the nerd. That's
and lamb. That was his, but he was like, no.
What about telling our boys they can't cry?
No, it depends on what you cry for.
Yeah, that's
it depends on what you cry.
I tell my son you can't whine. I'm not gonna tell my son you can't cry because it's an emotion. I don't want my sons to feel weak for something. I think that the toughest niggas tear quickly, to be honest, because they hold so much back. Cool to do it in the middle of a restaurant. It ain't cool to do it in the middle of a speech. But like you gotta, deal with your emotions accordingly. I just want.
Sat down with him and I said, "How old was your baby sister?" And he said 17. I said, "Darling, you didn't lose your virginity."
No. I'm not being funny. I'm
I
not.
feel you.
Remember, I told you that, bro.
As an 11-year-old boy, if I get to play with a female sex, I don't.
I wasn't traumatized by it. I was more advanced.
It's not
I mean,
advanced.
no.
It's sick.
It made me.
It's sick.
No, all jokes. That goes off the individual. I'm
It's the
serious.
same thing.
Like, it
So,
is.
but you're not gonna high five your daughter if
I'm not.
if a
I'm not gonna high
if a
five my son.
17-year-old boy lays up with your
Yeah,
9-year-old
I'm not
daughter.
gonna
No,
high five my son.
That's what I'm saying. I'm looking back. Nah, because I've been working out of one ear.
So now you
2 ears.
I
Was
mean,
that a trick question? Like,
I was just gonna say,
what you
Lying,
doing?
man.
I'm a bitch smoother than that.
I'm just kind of see how where your head is at.
But listen, all jokes. How can we reverse this trauma with generational?
A lot of us don't realize what we went through was traumatic because we don't have the knowledge and understanding of the stories that led to how we are. We don't know them better. We don't, like you just said, but that one, you don't know that you're supposed to be loved and the people that are able to put their hands on you. You
Right.
don't know that you can
The same way that this stuff is passed on, good stuff could be embedded. That's what I'm saying.
good stuff can be embedded.
To
I
start
agree.
telling your kids to, like, hey, for these, $300 sneakers you want, just take 30% of that, get you some
And
life
it's okay to be the black sheep of the family. It's okay to be the one that don't agree with everybody.
It's okay.